There comes a moment in every seeker's life when the world begins to feel strangely translucent. The things that once mattered, the successes, the fears, the arguments, the stories, start to flicker, like images on a screen that no longer seem quite real. You begin to notice the distance between who you truly are and the character you play. And somewhere deep within that stillness, a question rises, not from the intellect, but from the ancient part of you that remembers, what if I am not the dream, but the dreamer? For most of our lives, we've been convinced that we are these bodies, fragile, temporary, constantly trying to fix and protect themselves from a world that seems to attack and reward in equal measure. We chase security, approval, pleasure, and then call it life. But in truth, we've mistaken the movie. For the projector, the body is not the thinker. The thinker is not even the truth. The mind, the decision-making center beyond the brain, is the one choosing which voice to listen to. The ego, or the Holy Spirit. The ego whispers of guilt, of loss, of attack and defense. It tells you that you must control or be controlled, win or lose, possess or be deprived. But the Holy Spirit says something entirely different. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. There is no world outside your mind, only the reflection of what you have chosen to believe. And so begins the gentle undoing, the realization that salvation isn't about improving the dream, but awakening from it. You don't have to fix the world. You only have to forgive your perception of it. Forgiveness, in the true sense taught by A Course in Miracles, is not about pardon. It's about correction of perception. It's not saying, I forgive you for what you did, but nothing real has been done. It's the remembering that the scene you're watching, no matter how dramatic, is only a projection from a mind that forgot its innocence. You see, the mind that believes in separation projects a world to hide from its own guilt. A cosmic smokescreen of forms. Yet the same mind also holds the way home. The quiet inner teacher that sees everything differently. The Holy Spirit doesn't erase the world. He reinterprets it, translating every conflict into an opportunity to remember love. When you practice this, something begins to shift. You walk through your day aware that you are the observer, the witness of a body doing its rituals, speaking words, reacting to circumstances. You watch without judgment, without trying to control the script. And the miracle begins. Peace descends not because the story improved, but because you remembered it was never real to begin with. That is the holy moment the Course calls the happy dream. It's not heaven yet, but it's the reflection of it. It's when you stop trying to rewrite the movie and simply remember you are the light projecting it. Your peace no longer depends on outcomes, and even suffering is met with a quiet smile that says, I see what this is for. Every encounter then becomes sacred. That person who frustrates you, a mirror. That event that shakes you, a call to forgiveness. That physical pain, a lesson in detachment from form. The Holy Spirit uses everything, even illness, even fear, as material for awakening. This is not an escape from the human story, but a transformation of how you see it. When you remember that the world is within your mind, not outside it, you begin to experience a strange, liberating reversal. You are no longer the puppet of circumstances. You are the dreamer deciding what the dream means. But here's the subtle trap. The ego will even try to use forgiveness to reinforce guilt. It will say, look how spiritual you're not. You failed to forgive. You're still angry. That voice too must be forgiven, because it's not you. Every time you catch yourself judging, that's just another invitation to choose again. Gary once said, the ego doesn't die easily, it simply fades through laughter. And it's true. Enlightenment isn't a grim achievement. It's the gentle realization that there's nothing to defend, nothing to fix, nothing to fear. God is, and nothing else is. When you deeply accept that, the world begins to look different. Even your relationships start to shift. You no longer demand others to fulfill the parts of you. You refuse to love. Instead, you see every conflict as a reflection of an inner split. A call for healing, not punishment. You start to ask, what is this situation showing me about the thoughts I still believe in? And from that place, forgiveness becomes not an effort, but a habit of grace. You might wonder then, why awakening seems to take time. If truth is timeless, why are we still here, stumbling, resisting, returning to sleep? The answer is both comforting and humbling. Time itself was made by the ego as a shield against eternity. But the Holy Spirit uses time for healing, turning every instant into an opportunity to collapse guilt. Each genuine act of forgiveness saves thousands of years in time. You are literally accelerating the awakening of the entire sonship when you forgive. That is why the Course says your role is essential. The chain of forgiveness is interlocking. When you forgive one illusion, you help the entire mind awaken. You don't see it, but every act of love you choose reverberates across dimensions. Someone you'll never meet finds peace because you did, and yes, you'll still feel resistance. The ego doesn't surrender easily. It will distract you with fatigue, doubt, busyness, fear, even spirituality. It will whisper, "You're not ready yet. You need to understand more." But awakening isn't about understanding. It's about willingness. A small willingness, offered sincerely, is all the Holy Spirit needs. Remember this: you don't have to heal yourself alone. You were never asked to. You only need to say, "Here, take this perception from me and show me another way to see it." Then step back. Sometimes you'll feel peace instantly, other times you'll simply feel nothing, but trust the process. The correction has been made where it matters, in the mind that dreamt the error. And as you keep practicing, something miraculous begins to unfold. Moments of stillness sneak between thoughts. Laughter replaces seriousness. You find yourself less reactive, more observant, gentler with yourself and others. You realize that you no longer need to win arguments, prove worth, or control outcomes. You are starting to remember what you truly are, the changeless, eternal light behind every scene. You might even start to feel that you've lived this lesson before, maybe in another lifetime, maybe in another form. But the sense of familiarity is real because truth is timeless. The players change, but the curriculum remains forgiveness. And even the souls of animals, the loyal eyes of a pet who returns again and again, seem to remind you that love never dies. It only shifts form until you learn it completely. At some point, you'll notice that healing isn't about fixing the body but correcting the mind. The body will still need care. Take the medicine, go to the doctor. But remember that true healing happens when guilt is released. When you remember that you are not the body, you stop being afraid of its conditions. And in that peace, many symptoms simply fade because their purpose, which was to reinforce guilt, has been undone. Yet even when the body doesn't heal, the mind can still awaken. And in that awakening, death itself loses meaning. The teacher of God sees the dream figures come and go, but is not deceived by what he sees. No one ever dies, because no one was ever born. The story of life and death was just another classroom in forgiveness. Forgiveness then becomes not a task, but a way of seeing. It's not something you do. It's something that happens when you stop insisting on being right. Every time you look at the world and say, "I know what this means," you've chosen the ego's judgment. But when you pause and admit, "I don't know," that's when the light begins to enter. The Holy Spirit can only reinterpret what you are willing to release. To the mind trained by the world, surrender sounds like defeat. But to the awakened heart, surrender is victory. Because what you surrender is not your power, but your illusion of control. You stop fighting the waves and realize you were the ocean all along. And yet, awakening is not a straight line. The ego's grip loosens and tightens, its voice shifting between subtle doubt and loud fear. One day you feel infinite, the next you feel small again. That's okay. Every fluctuation is just the dream's way of testing your willingness to stay awake. You learn to smile at the madness, to say, "Ah, here it comes again," and not take it seriously. You begin to develop a strange, luminous patience, because you see that nothing is really wrong. It's only mistaken perception asking to be healed. Many people wonder how to look with the Holy Spirit. It's not about imagining a divine figure next to you. It's about looking with a thought system that doesn't condemn. When you see someone attack, the ego wants to attack back or withdraw in self-defense. But the Holy Spirit looks quietly and says, "This is a call for love." And in that moment, the battlefield becomes a classroom. You are being shown what still hurts within you, what still believes it could be separate from love. That's why relationships are so central to awakening. They're not random. They are mirrors, deliberately arranged by your unconscious mind to bring buried guilt to the surface. The ego says, "This person is the problem." The Holy Spirit says, "This person is your chance to remember who you are." The same relationship that once seemed to imprison you becomes the very door to your liberation. The Course calls this shift the transition from special relationships to holy relationships. In a special relationship, you make another person responsible for your happiness or your pain. In a holy relationship, you realize that they were never the cause of either. You stop asking them to complete you and start using every interaction to undo the belief that you were incomplete. And here lies the paradox. The more you forgive, the more you love. But the less you need the world to validate that love. You begin to live lightly, unattached to form yet deeply connected in spirit. You love without conditions, because you no longer see conditions. You don't love people for what they give you. You love them because they remind you of what you are. When the Course says seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world, it's not a call to passivity. It's an invitation to power, the kind of power that transforms without resistance. Because when you change your mind, the world reflects that change automatically. The scenes shift, the characters soften, events unfold with effortless timing. It's as if the movie adjusts to match the piece of its dreamer. Still, the ego protests. If none of this is real, why bother? Why care? And the answer is profound, because love cares, not for illusion, but through it. Love doesn't need the world to be real to extend itself. It shines, because that's what it is. Your acts of kindness, your gentle thoughts, your patience, they are echoes of eternity, reverberating through the dream, softening its edges until it dissolves. Even physical death, that most terrifying illusion, becomes a simple transition. No one dies, because no one was ever a body. Those who seem to leave are merely changing classrooms, continuing their lessons in another form. The wise do not grieve. They bless the transformation and continue their forgiveness here. For in truth, there are no goodbyes, only changing dreams within the same infinite mind. You may ask, if only God is real and nothing else is, why do I still see this world? Because the mind has not yet chosen fully. It wavers between truth and illusion, between spirit and ego. But one day, and it could be any instant, the choice becomes total. The last shadow of guilt disappears, and the dream collapses in a burst of light. What remains cannot be described. The Course calls it the real world, a purified perception that reflects heaven's innocence. It's still perception, but it's the final one, beyond which only knowledge remains. And until that moment, we practice. We practice every day, not to become holy, but to remember we already are. We practice because each act of forgiveness is an act of love toward ourselves. We practice because peace is learned through repetition, not forced, but allowed. The Holy Spirit is patient beyond time. He meets you exactly where you believe you are and gently translates your experience into truth. Sometimes you will feel the weight of the body's pain or the mind's despair. You may wonder why, after so much forgiveness, the the dream still shows suffering. Remember then, you are not here to fix the forms of suffering, but to see through them. The Holy Spirit may guide you to medicine, therapy, rest. Follow that guidance. But know that healing happens the moment you stop making the problem real. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. A cold and a cancer are equally unreal to the mind that knows it is not a body. When you stop measuring pain, you stop giving it meaning. You realize that every form of suffering is the same call for the same answer: the remembrance of love. That's why a miracle is not a change in form. It's a change in perception. It shifts your gaze from the shadow to the light behind it. And once you see that light, you can never fully forget it. Even in your darkest hour, a small part of you remembers, "This too is a dream, and I am safe." Each day becomes another invitation to remember this. You wake up in a body, play your role, meet the same characters. But now, something in you smiles knowingly. You are watching the play with holy detachment. You still act, love, work, create, rest. But everything feels lighter, almost transparent. You begin to sense that this entire lifetime is just one forgiveness lesson among many. You are watching the classroom dissolve. And maybe, in a quiet moment, you feel a vast peace surrounding you. A peace that has no cause, no reason, no opposite. You realize it's been there all along, gently waiting for you beneath every story you ever told. This is the stillness that the ego fears most, because it cannot exist in the presence of peace. In that stillness, you feel the truth. You never left home. You are as God created you, eternal, whole, and forever innocent. The ego trembles in that awareness. It cannot understand innocence. It only knows defense. It will tell you you've gone too far, that you're losing your identity. But the truth is, you're only losing what was never real. The personality fades like mist before the sun, and what remains is not a void, but fullness beyond measure. You are not disappearing, you are remembering. When you forgive, you reclaim your power. Not the power of domination, but the quiet strength of invulnerability. Because what can harm you if you are not a body? What can offend you if the world is only your projection? You laugh gently at what once terrified you. You see through the veil, and behind every form, you recognize the same unbroken light. This is the vision of Christ. It sees no differences, no hierarchies, no enemies. It blesses everything, because it knows everything is one. To see with those eyes is to live in freedom, a freedom that cannot be taken because it was never given by the world. At that point, you no longer seek awakening as a future event. You realize it's happening now. In every instant, you choose peace over conflict. Heaven isn't a place, it's a state of mind that never left you. And the more you choose it, the more the dream aligns with it. Your life becomes a quiet symphony of grace. Simple, grounded, luminous. Nothing spectacular may happen on the surface. But within you, the universe is at rest. Forgiveness ends where gratitude begins. You stop trying to wake up and simply thank the light for having never left. You thank the Holy Spirit for using every mistake as a doorway to truth. You thank the people who triggered you, because without them, you would never have learned what love really means. You even thank the ego, for without its madness, you would never have longed to remember your sanity. And slowly, gently, the dream softens. The lines blur between you and the world, between giving and receiving, between prayer and breath. You realize that you were never here to fix the dream, but to awaken from it laughing. One day, you'll notice that your resistance has turned into curiosity. You no longer dread the lessons of the day. You meet them like an artist meets the canvas, open, willing, unafraid, because you know that every scene, no matter how it looks, is an opportunity for forgiveness. And forgiveness is creation. It paints the world in light. People may ask you what changed, and you'll smile, because you can't quite explain it. You still work, You still laugh, you still face challenges, but nothing feels personal anymore. Life flows through you instead of happening to you. You are the witness of peace in motion. That is the true awakening, not a thunderclap of enlightenment, but a slow dawn that never ends. The sun rises within you, and every shadow becomes a teacher of light. Even pain has lost its sting, because you know it cannot touch what you are. You've discovered a freedom that doesn't depend on outcomes. The world hasn't changed. You have. The Course says the world was over long ago. You are only reviewing what has already passed, deciding whether to see it through the ego's eyes or the Holy Spirit's. When you choose the latter, you experience what it calls the happy dream, a world that still appears but no longer binds. The colors seem softer, the air lighter, because the mind that once condemned now blesses. Eventually, forgiveness becomes effortless. You don't even call it forgiveness anymore. It's simply seeing. You see the innocence in everyone because you've seen it in yourself. You don't deny that mistakes occur in the dream. You just know they have no real effect, and in that knowledge, you are finally at peace. So where does this all lead? It leads to a moment beyond time, when every dream dissolves into the brilliance of what you are. The Holy Spirit gently takes the last illusion, the world itself, and lays it before God. And God smiles, because nothing was ever lost. The Son has awakened from the dream of separation and remembered himself as love. That is the end of time. Not a catastrophe, but a homecoming. The universe folds back into consciousness, and what remains is pure awareness. No words, no images, no opposites. Only the still, radiant presence that has always been. Until then, we walk together in the dream, helping each other remember. We forgive, we forget, we laugh, we stumble. But through it all, we hold the quiet knowing that nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. This is the peace of God, and it is already yours.